Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the U.S. Naval War College graduation ceremony. My name is Captain Patrick Keys, the Dean of Students, and will be serving as the MC for today's ceremony. You're welcome to take photos at any time throughout the ceremony. We have official photographers taking pictures today, and you will find these photos posted on our site found in the back of the program for you to download. At this time, as a courtesy, please put your cell phones on silent or vibrate. Please remain seated for the student procession. Please rise and remain standing for the arrival of the official party, national anthem, and invocation. The national anthem will be sung by Petty Officer Second Class Rachel Vanell from the Navy Band Northeast.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Commander Robert S. Nelson, chaplain of the Naval Leadership and Ethics Center, will deliver the invocation.
I invite you to join me as I pray. God of power and might, wisdom and justice, As we mark the graduation of these men and women from the Naval War College, we offer our gratitude for the gifts and the talents that you have lavished upon them, for their family and friends and the faculty who have cheered them on through the process, for the commands that let them go so that they might return more ably fit for higher levels of leadership, and for the commands that will receive them and put them quickly to work. I ask that you would continue to fuel their passion and sharpen their reason, that they might creatively exploit chance on behalf of the defense of our people, our nation, and our alliances and the values that we share. May your spirit move among us this afternoon, and may this graduation be a fitting testament to the work they have accomplished. In your holy name I pray, amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the members of our official party. Rear Admiral retired Michael White, Dean, College of Maritime Operational Warfare. Professor John Meyer, Deputy Dean, College of Leadership and Ethics. Dr. Tim Gerald, Deputy Dean, College of Distance Education. Professor Tom Calora, Dean, Center for Naval Warfare Studies. Professor Thomas Mangold, Dean, International Programs and Maritime Security Cooperation. Dr. Phil Hahn, Dean of Academics. Dr. Lewis Duncan, Provost, United States Naval War College. Professor Sally Payne, William S. Sims, University Professor of History and Grand Strategy, Strategy and Policy Department, and Rear Admiral Shoshana S. Chatfield, the 57th President of the United States Naval War College. Several years ago, we began a tradition at the United States Naval War College of allowing the graduating student body to nominate their guest speaker from amongst all the talented professionals at the college. I would like to ask graduating student Commander Ralph Lufkin to introduce your faculty guest speaker. Come on up, Ralph.
Morning. Professor Sally Payne has been a faculty member at the Naval War College since 2000 and has served as the William S. Sims University Professor of History and Grand Strategy in the Strategy and Policy Department of the college since 2017. A graduate of Harvard University, Middlebury College, and Columbia University, Professor Payne's many areas of expertise include the Asia-Pacific region, where she has spent over 8 years researching and living. When Captain Keyes reached out asking the March graduates who we wanted to serve as our guest speaker, I quickly nominated Professor Payne. Although I never had a seminar or a smaller class with her myself, I was one of the many who was impressed by her frequent lectures that we received in this very auditorium during the strategy and policy portion of our education. Not only did Professor Payne deliver thoroughly researched and well-argued lectures, but she enthusiastically welcomed any follow-up questions or challenges to her assertions. In addition to embodying academic excellence, she exhorted us to take full advantage of our educational opportunities at the college. 2 moments in particular resonated positively with me. After wrapping up her lecture on maritime warfare in World War II, there was a pause before anyone stood up and grabbed a microphone for a question. During the lull, she reminded us, you should take advantage of your education here. It costs a fortune. Each of you is $250,000, your salary, the opportunity costs, and what it costs to have you here. Are you sure you don't have any questions? In another instance, when answering a student's question regarding war termination, she discussed the question at hand and helpfully added, this course is not going to solve your problems, but it should help you to be cognizant of some of the questions you need to ask yourself. I know I speak for a large group when I say we have benefited from having Professor Payne on our college faculty, and it's my pleasure to introduce her here today as our selected graduation speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Sally Payne.
Thank you very much for all those kind words. I didn't pay him, but tempting. Over a quarter of a century ago, when I was a sleepless, stay-at-home nursing, recently minted PhD with 2 children in diapers, my aunt observed that children are like souped-up sports cars, and growing up is learning how to use the options. One morning, when an exhausted me was down on the floor folding diapers, my 18-month-old marched over to inform me, and I quote, "This is not the way we fold diapers," and proceeded to demonstrate best practices. I thought to myself, at least I'm the one folding, not wearing them. But did not squelch original ideas. I've always encouraged the young to speak their mind and have taken much on the chin doing so. My terrific mother-in-law advised that parenting is not about making decisions for your children, but helping them learn how to make good decisions for themselves. When my son was about 7, a lava lamp caught his eye, and he asked me whether he should make the $15 investment, his entire net worth at the time. And I said, look, it's your decision. He bought it and suffered buyer's remorse within minutes of getting it home. A couple of days later, I inquired, how many Legos do you suppose $15 would have bought at a yard sale? His eyes widened. He understood, and he never repeated the error. The lava lamp is our most talked about family purchase, $15 well spent on the lesson learned. My husband and I met in graduate school, and we spent years living out of backpacks while conducting research abroad. My father-in-law despaired that either one of us would ever get a job. But Congress mandated that the War College hire China experts, so here we are. We've spent 9 of the last 35 years conducting research in Russia, China, Taiwan, Japan, and Australia, and then 2 months each summer for the last 5 years doing research at presidential archives across this country. This is what I've brought to the classroom. Getting an A+ education and giving birth to 2 children defined my early adulthood. I have great admiration for the next generation. My own 2 children whose education and skills exceed my own, and great admiration for you, who protect my freedom of speech, who guard the castle walls to our republic. You have entered the middle phase of your careers, while I'm in the final phase of mine. My comments come from the vantage point of the transition from the middle to the end. As I've told my children since they were tiny, I'm no smarter than you are. But my memory covers a longer sweep of experience, and over this longer arc of time, I've worked hard to learn and then to apply and share what I've learned. So here goes. When I was in my mid-career phase, your phase, raising children, and I love listening to all your kids. It just brings me back to mine who've all grown up, sniff, and they had the nerve to leave the house, but never mind. But when I was in your phase, raising children, working here, and helping my ailing mother, it just left no free time at all. My dad had died when I was 18, and the day he did was the day I grew up and learned what the words irrevocable and forever mean. Dad still defines my values, which are honesty, conscience, service, and his big one, integrity. At his funeral service, there was standing room only for the guy whose primary quality was integrity. People value integrity. It's your Kevlar. It means you can stand up and tell anyone anything you need to. In life, it turns out often that what seems to be the hard path is actually the easy path. For instance, many think that admitting a mistake is really hard, and they go to great lengths not to. Actually, the hard thing is throwing away your reputation in the cover-up, or in failing to acknowledge what everyone else finds to be absolutely obvious. The remedy for a mistake that injures others is a sincere apology, because refusing to admit a mistake makes you small. But if you sincerely apologize and the other person won't forgive, that makes them small. So those with integrity apologize, those without don't, compounding the first mistake with the second one. In the strategy and policy department, we require students to include a counterargument in their papers. Why? In order to understand the world from the point of view of their most persuasive critics. We live in a world of incomplete information and differing priorities. So as a result, we come to different conclusions. As more information becomes available, the counterargument may turn out to be right. Don't be afraid to change your mind and reassess. As the financier Warren Buffett has observed, the most important thing to do if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. More on the hard thing that's actually the easy thing. Hard work, not sloth, is the easy thing. Some of you have told me that I'm smart. I am no smarter than you are. I have simply spent a career working hard, and I have an excellent education. I've spent 20 years teaching here, and that's what that sort of career looks like. A dozen books, lectures with original content, 2 electives, and way too much administrative work. I have no regrets at the end of my career about a wasted life. I haven't wasted mine. However flawed, I've done my best by my family, by you, and by my colleagues. I have shared my education to those who read my publications, and with you in the classroom and late into the evening correcting your papers. My publications will endure long after my administrative duties have been forgotten. Like you, I received a superlative education at the Naval War College. I could not have written the caliber books that I have without the senior professors from the Strategy and Policy Department, now all retired, who educated me. The Naval War College is the only educational institution that focuses on the prerequisites for and the strategic consequences of maritime power. This country has a unique geography, broad oceans separating us from our foes, only 2 landward neighbors, both good friends. Compared to a continental power like Russia or China, bordering on multiple historical enemies, we have comparative sanctuary at home. Our foreign policy cannot be competently crafted without a deep understanding of maritime power. The Naval War College's focus on these issues makes it the most important PME institution there is. No civilian university even has a program on maritime history, yet our country is the greatest maritime power in human history. It is an amazing oversight of our civilian counterparts. Today, the Communist Party of China faces existential threats of its own making. Its mismanagement of the African swine flu has wiped out China's pigs, its primary source of animal protein and measure of well-being. The children of Hong Kong have put their lives on the line, making clear to all what a horror show China is. The communist mismanagement of Hong Kong then threw the elections in Taiwan in favor of independence, and now for the biggest mess of all, the coronavirus, that local and then presumably provincial and then national authorities covered up when there was still time to contain it. Half of Wuhan, the epicenter of the contagion, has fled, 5 million people, so the virus is off and running globally. The communist aversion to a free press allowed the virus to spread and proves yet again what an abhorrent system communism is. With the closing of borders, China's Belt and Road Initiative is over, demonstrating yet again the advantages of sea transport. China's economy will go off the cliff if air and sea travel do not resume rapidly. And better yet, if entire cities and the factories that go with them remain on lockdown. It must be just crazy living in a huge city like Wuhan where the government's fled. Who knows what kinds of government services remain? The Chinese Communist Party has urged its citizens, get this one, to grow vegetables, an odd admonition to make in the dead of winter. It has also released emergency vegetable supplies, because I guess there's no pork, whatever that means. Cities and citizens cannot long endure under these conditions. Xi Jinping is going to get full credit for the wreckage, since he has centralized all power in his clutches. These are the fruits of his labors, the man overseeing the genocide of Muslims in Xinjiang and allowing organ harvesting of the incarcerated. People often frivolously compare random dictatorships to the Nazis. Well, the Chinese Communist Party has earned that distinction fair and square. No exaggerations necessary. Follow how the Chinese Communist Party uses its internet powers to weather the storm. If it succeeds, this will be a warning to democracies everywhere of the potential for the internet combined with manipulated information to destroy democracies everywhere. Taming the internet may well be your generation's greatest challenge. I urge you to publish and pass on to the next generation the nuggets from your careers. Those of you who work hard and lead full lives will have much to share. You may wonder why publications are so central to education. From writing papers, you know the difficulties of crafting your own argument. and weaving together sufficient supporting evidence. You also know how much you've learned from putting in the effort. Writing elevates thinking to a higher level. Each book I write ratchets up my own thinking a notch. In 1852, Alexander Scott, a British educator, observed, "He who learns from one occupied in learning drinks from a running stream. He who learns from one who has learned all he is to teach drinks the green mantle of the stagnant pool." Yuck. One has to wonder what non-publishing professors do with their copious free time. Educational institutions of the highest caliber, which the Naval War College should be, hire faculty who have ideas worth sharing. Publication is how each field vets ideas for their originality and their value. For a professor, it is easier to publish than not. Those who don't often become mean and prey upon junior professors whose publications make them feel small, compounding the defect of sloth with bullying. Being lazy and having little to show at the end of your life is the hard thing. Likewise, confronting injustice is the easy thing. Doing nothing is the hard thing. If you stand up and lose, you will know that you've done your best and lived your values. If you do nothing, you are complicit and will always wonder whether you could have made the difference. If you have a conscience, follow it, because it's going to follow you to the grave. Regrets will haunt you. Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis wrote, "Sunlight is said to be the best of disinfectants. Rats operate in the walls because they cannot survive broad daylight, shine broad daylight on them. Our country will become a banana republic only if we let it." When I was mid-career like you, I had a mental file called Not on My Watch. I filed away the instances of mistreatment of me and others that I could do little about at the time. Until the hostages were out of the house and had graduated from college, I kept my head down. With their full adulthood, I entered the final phase of my career and opened that file because now is my watch. It is incumbent on each generation to leave things better than when they found them, just as previous generations have done throughout US history. I don't much like bullies, and I've run into lots of them. I don't much like passive-aggressive behavior either, and I've run into way too much of it working here. The passive-aggressive set others up, wait for the stumble, and then pounce to amplify the fall, creating a toxic work environment. Confucius emphasized the importance of calling things by their right names. Bullying, passive-aggressive, and toxic are all right names. The passive-aggressive are cowards. They depend on everyone else giving them a pass. Don't. Follow Eisenhower's lead on leadership. Here's what he advised as president. To tie subordinates to the leader with unbreakable bonds, one rule must always be observed. Take full responsibility promptly for everything that remotely resembles failure. Give extravagant and public praise to all subordinates for every success. This method is slow, but the results endure. When you reach my career phase, remember the education that you received here that positioned you to succeed. If you've risen high in the ranks, make sure that all remains well at the Naval War College. It is a national treasure that requires the vigilance of each generation to preserve. Thank you for your service. If I can ever be of service to you, I am but an email away. Thank you.
Professor Payne, on behalf of the students, staff, and faculty, I thank you for your comments and your ongoing contributions and service to our country. For each graduating class, one student is selected for recognition as the President's Honor Graduate. Recipients of this award are chosen based on their outstanding achievement across a spectrum of disciplines, including academic performance, participation in Naval War College activities, participation in civic and community activities, and promotion of armed and government service in the public interest. For the College of Naval Warfare, the honor graduate for the March 2020 graduating class is Lieutenant Colonel Michael Seek, U.S. Army National Guard. Would you come on up, Mike? Come on up. Lieutenant Colonel Seek finished number 2 of 18 and was JMO Seminar 17 academic rep and capstone exercise lead, NSDM Seminar 5 academic rep, and volunteered for numerous events at the Jamestown School. Along with a certificate, he is receiving an engraved Weems and Plath compass from the Naval War College Foundation, presented by Mr. George E. Lang, Jr., Chief Executive Officer. Yes, sorry, George. George, come on up. For the College of Naval Command and Staff, the honor graduate for the March 2020 graduating class is Major Brian Malloy, U.S. Army. Would you come on up, Brian? Major Malloy finished number 1 of 40 and wrote a paper that was published in Joint Forces Quarterly, wrote a white paper for Joint Artificial Intelligence Center, and volunteered at the Woodland BMX, which works to encourage youth cycling. Along with the certificate, he is receiving an engraved Weems and Plath compass from the Naval War College Foundation. We will now give our honor graduates a few moments to address their fellow graduates and classmates. Mike, if you want to start. Yeah.
Sure. Captain Keys told me I had 5 minutes. I'm going to try to do this in 1. So first off, Admiral Chatfield, distinguished faculty and staff, fellow students, and honored guests, I'm really humbled to receive this recognition. Like anything else, though, that's ever happened good in my life, it's because a lot of other people helped me along the way. So to the faculty and staff, thank you for the instruction, guidance, and mentorship you provided over the last year. You not only challenged me on what I thought, but how I thought, and I'm forever in your debt for that. To my fellow students, I definitely learned more from you than you ever did from me, and for that I'm also in your debt. And I will cherish the friendships that we formed over this past year, and hopefully we'll see each other down the road. And last but not least, would like to thank my family, particularly my wife, Krissa, who put up with me taking over the kitchen table on more than one occasion to write a paper. I'm forever in debt for everything you do for our family. Thank you again.
Thanks, Mike.
Admiral Chatfield, Dr. Duncan, esteemed faculty and staff, fellow students. Captain Keys also told me I had 5 minutes and I plan to use all 5. Really what I want to say to the students is that I had an incredible opportunity to be a participant in the Ethics of Emerging Military Technology program while here at the War College. And we all sat here in the War College a few months ago at the beginning of this academic year for the Future Warfare Symposium, where we learned at length about the challenges of disruptive technologies. And what I've learned over the past few months at the War College here is that those disruptive technologies are not disruptive on their own. So technology is agnostic. There's nothing inherently disruptive about it. But it's the people who implement those technologies through doctrine, through publications, and through the changes that we make to our own services that make them truly disruptive. I think that's the biggest takeaway that I have from my educational experience here. And that's something that I hope that all of you take back with you as you go back to the force. So those technologies that are coming out, whether it's artificial intelligence, like I've had the opportunity to study here at length, and I'm forever indebted to the faculty here for giving me that opportunity, or other technologies, hypersonics, gene editing technologies, all of these massive changes that we're seeing. It's up to us to harness those technologies, to write down, to publish, and to change the way that we operate so that we can effectively use them in the future. Before I go, I want to make just a couple of quick thank yous. I'd like to, first of all, thank my wife, Kim, and my two sons, Jacob and Charlie, for their unwavering support throughout the whole process. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be standing here today. I'd also like to thank my parents, Elaine and Paul Malloy, who I'm lucky enough to have in the audience, for setting both my educational foundation so that I could have success here as well as success in life. Thank you. I'd also like to thank some of the esteemed faculty that I've had a chance to work with. So Dr. Creeley and Dr. Schultz from the EEMT program, Dr. Ivan Luke and Dr. Jim Holmes, who helped me immensely as I was writing some of the publications that I worked on here at the college. And then the rest of the esteemed faculty. I mean, it's just been an incredible opportunity. Thank you very much.
A Master of Arts degree in National Security and Strategic Studies or Defense and Strategic Studies, as appropriate, will now be conferred to the graduates. Will the graduates please rise and remain in place? Admiral Chatfield, please approach the podium. Admiral, I have the honor to present the March graduates of the United States Naval War College candidates for the Master of Arts in National Security and Strategic Studies and Defense and Strategic Studies. They have been thoroughly examined and approved by the faculty.
Thank you, Jethro. By the power vested in me, the Secretary of the Navy, the accreditation of the New England Commission of Higher Education, and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, I confer upon you all appropriate degrees and diplomas. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in saluting with our applause the March 2020 graduates of the United States Naval War College.
Okay, you can be seated now. Beyond the requirements for graduation, certain individuals have distinguished themselves through academic excellence. For those in the top 5%, they are receiving a diploma with highest distinction. Those in the next 15% will receive a diploma with distinction. Graduates will now receive their diplomas. Graduates, please proceed to the stage as your name is read. Guests are welcome to come forward to take photos. Please try to hold your applause until all names have been read. Admiral Chatfield, Professor Payne, Dr. Duncan, and Dean Hahn, please rise. Presenting the graduating members of the College of Naval Warfare and their next duty assignment. If I could get CNW to the first row to stand up. Thank you. Lieutenant Colonel Andrew W. Anderson, U.S. Army Reserve, United States Army Cyber Command, Fort Gordon, Augusta, Georgia. Colonel Aaron J. Brunk, U.S. Marine Corps, 3rd Marine Expeditionary Force Headquarters, Okinawa, Japan. Commander Lyda B. Cooper, U.S. Navy, Assault Craft, Unit 5, Camp Pendleton, California. Lieutenant Colonel Travis Doge, U.S. Army National Guard, Louisiana National Guard Joint Force Headquarters, New Orleans, Louisiana. Commander John A. Evans, U.S. Navy, Naval Supply Systems Command, Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Lieutenant Colonel Alexander B. Fafinsky, U.S. Air Force, U.S. Naval War College faculty, Newport, Rhode Island. Commander Joseph J. Gunta, U.S. Navy, USS John S. McCain, Yokosuka, Japan. Commander Michael J. Hellard, U.S. Navy, USS Detroit, LCS Crew Blue, Mayport, Florida. Colonel Roderick Franklin Loffman, U.S. Army Reserve, 84th Training Command, Great Lakes Training Division, 2nd Brigade, Arlington Heights, Illinois. Captain Kevin Wayne Macy, U.S. Navy, with high distinction, OpNav, Pentagon, Arlington, Virginia. Commander Matthew William McKenzie, U.S. Navy, NATO Headquarters, Allied Maritime Command, Northwood, UK. Commander James B. Morrison, U.S. Navy, with distinction, United States European Command, Stuttgart, Germany. Commander Maxwell L. Oliver, U.S. Navy, NAS, Columbia, South Carolina. Captain Michael John Rack, U.S. Navy, USS Cowpen, San Diego, California. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Seek, U.S. Army National Guard, with distinction, Joint Force Headquarters, Missouri, Jefferson City, Missouri. Lieutenant Colonel Clinton J. Taylor, U.S. Army National Guard, Special Operations Detachment, NATO, Towson, Maryland. Commander Douglas M. Tempest, U.S. Navy, with distinction, STRATCOM Joint Warfare Analysis Center, Dahlgren, Virginia. Presenting the graduating members of the College of Naval Command and Staff and their next duty assignment. Lieutenant Nicholas Ryan Allen, U.S. Navy, Naval Information Warfare Center, Pacific, San Diego, California. Lieutenant Commander Michael A. Amendola, U.S. Navy, National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, Springfield, Virginia. Major Gregory Allen Benjamin, U.S. Army, with distinction, 10th Mountain Division, Fort Drum, New York. Lieutenant Commander David A. Brock, U.S. Navy, U.S. Pacific Fleet, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Lieutenant Commander Wilson Manuel Calles, U.S. Navy, Tacron 11, San Diego, California. Lieutenant Commander Stephen Michael De Leonibus, U.S. Navy, VP 30, Jacksonville, Florida. Lieutenant Commander Lucas Ray Edwards, U.S. Navy, VFA 22, Lemoore, California. Lieutenant Justin M. Elder, U.S. Navy, with distinction, SEAL Team 7, San Diego, California. Lieutenant Commander Derek J. Ellis, U.S. Navy, Commander, Naval Air Forces, Norfolk, Virginia. Commander Jeremiah Farwell, U.S. Navy, HSC-2, Norfolk, Virginia. Lieutenant Commander Graham C. Gill, U.S. Navy, U.S. Naval War College, Halsey Alpha Fellow, Newport, Rhode Island. Lieutenant Isabel Gomez, U.S. Navy, Surface Warfare Officer School, Newport, Rhode Island. Lieutenant Commander Andrew John Harris, U.S. Navy, with distinction, U.S. Naval War College, Halsey Bravo, Newport, Rhode Island. Lieutenant Commander Daniel Lee Hillegrass, U.S. Navy, U.S. Naval War College, Gravely Group, Newport, Rhode Island. Lieutenant Commander Daniel C. Hodges, U.S. Navy, HSC-2, Norfolk, Virginia. Major Brian Richard Kent, U.S. Army, 1st Battalion Airborne, 509th Infantry Regiment, Fort Polk, Louisiana. Lieutenant Commander Brian C. Laws, U.S. Navy, Surface Warfare Officer School, Newport, Rhode Island. Lieutenant Commander John M. Leeds, U.S. Navy, VP 16, Jacksonville, Florida. Major Daniel Warren Leffler, U.S. Army, with high distinction, National Security Agency, Buckley Air Force Base, Colorado. Commander Ralph Patrick Lufkin, U.S. Navy, LCS Crew 216, Charleston Blue, San Diego, California. Lieutenant Commander Ryan P. McGeough, U.S. Navy, Carrier Strike Group 7, San Diego, California. Lieutenant Commander Donald Kenneth Moradi, Jr., U.S. Navy, Program Executive Office for Command, Control, Communications, Computers, and Intelligence, San Diego, California. Major Brian T. Malloy, U.S. Army, with high distinction, Joint Task Force Bravo, Honduras. Major Victor A. Munoz, U.S. Army, 1st Armored Division, Fort Bliss, Texas. Commander Sean Matthew Novinsky, U.S. Navy, VFA 143, NAS Oceana, Virginia Beach, Virginia. Lieutenant Commander Joshua A. Peoples, U.S. Navy, with distinction, Naval Surface and Mine Warfare Development Center, Joint Expeditionary Base, Little Creek, Norfolk, Virginia. Lieutenant Commander Nicholas Peter, U.S. Navy, U.S. Naval War College, Newport, Rhode Island. Lieutenant Commander Blade Allen Schallenberger, U.S. Navy, U.S. Naval War College, Halsey Bravo, Newport, Rhode Island. Lieutenant Craig A. Stocker, Jr., U.S. Navy, Surface Warfare Officer School, Newport, Rhode Island. Major Jonathan Allen Schwartz, U.S. Army, 1st Cavalry Division, Fort Hood, Texas. Lieutenant Commander Andrew Michael Derek Thom, U.S. Navy, with distinction, VAQ 142, NAS Whidbey Island, Washington. Lieutenant Commander David Bobby Todd, U.S. Navy, HSM 72, Jacksonville, Florida. Lieutenant Commander Jason Treba, U.S. Navy, VQ 1, NAS Whidbey Island, Oak Harbor, Virginia. Lieutenant Commander Christopher M. Vonderheide, U.S. Navy, with distinction, VT 9, NAS Meridian, Mississippi. Lieutenant Commander Benjamin Shin Wong, U.S. Navy, AFRICOM Jayak, Molesworth, UK. Lieutenant Commander Christopher Francis Waski, U.S. Navy, USS Ronald Reagan, Yokosuka, Japan. Lieutenant Commander David M. Weinstein, U.S. Navy, Navy Expeditionary Logistics Support Group, Williamsburg, Virginia. Lieutenant Andrew Willis, U.S. Navy, Naval Submarine School, Groton, Connecticut. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in a round of applause for our graduates, honorees, and their families. At this time, Rear Admiral Chatfield will issue the charge to the graduates. Admiral, would you proceed to the podium, please?
Well, I've got a lot of thank yous to go through. If you'll just permit me, to our provost, our deans, our faculty, and I do want to call out that for Captain Keyes, this is his 13th graduation ceremony that he has emceed and his final one. So we wish you well as you move on. A lot of our staff hands went into today's ceremony. So I do want to thank our facilities and our events. I'd like to thank the Navy Band Northeast. I'd like to thank our faculty, in particular, our distinguished CNO fellows. Thank you for being here and supporting this event. Our service advisors, and to Mr. George Lang, thank you for your incredible support of our Naval War College Foundation. Over this past year, the foundation has been very supportive of these students, of this institution, our United States Navy, and our nation. Thank you. To our faculty and staff, you set the standards of educational excellence in learning, research, and operational experience. You anticipate the needs of the warfighter, and today, before you, you see the fruits of your labor as we prepare to send these warfighters back out to their operational commands and their areas of expertise. Your efforts in educating and developing these leaders will pay dividends in their contributions to our nation and our national security in the future. Thank you for your contributions and your service here at the United States Naval War College. And now to families and friends of today's graduates, thank you for being here today to share in this celebration and recognition of your graduates' achievements. Your continued encouragement is critical to their success, and you are a tremendous part of all of their accomplishments. You have my permission in the future to remind them that they spent a year at the United States Naval War College, that they learned to think differently, and please remind them to do so. Thank you for your support. And now to our graduates. Upon your arrival here in Newport, you began an intellectual journey, the likes of which many of you had never embarked. You were taken out of a framework you recognized, a paradigm that you held, and you were thrust into the academic discussions that transcended positions, rank, and your previous experience. You were charged to think critically, to analyze, to strategize, and to innovate. And I'm sorry if I was repetitive on that last piece, but our future depends on it. You were tasked to study through the lens of leadership and ethics, history, strategy and policy, operational art, and diplomacy. And through those lenses, you were asked to tackle myriad challenges that lie ahead for our great nation. Together, drawing from your diverse backgrounds and professional paths, you collectively answered that call. You also challenged your faculty. Thank you. You challenged each other. You were right to do so. And most importantly, each of you challenged yourselves. You have emerged as a class of scholars with a commonality in your purposes. You should be rightfully proud of your accomplishments individually and as a class. Congratulations. Just yesterday, our Acting Secretary of the Navy released the Education for Sea Power Strategy 2020, the Department of the Navy's first ever comprehensive education strategy. Our Acting Secretary described learning as a key strategic enabler for our force as we move into a future filled with unpredictability and momentous change. He further stated that in order to deter, and if necessary, outfight our adversaries, we must learn and commit ourselves to outthinking them. This past year, here at the college, is where you have invested in your preparation to do just that, to outthink any adversary. Our leadership views this investment in your education as a direct investment in our warfighting advantage. Your charge now, as you prepare to re-enter your operational world, is to commit to the transformative power of education and to link what you've just learned to how we fight. This is just one part of the continuum of learning throughout your career, and you must invest your energy in continuing that development for yourselves and for those you lead. Take with you what you learned here as a different lens to view the challenges you will inevitably face in the future. Now that you have experienced new ways to influence the future here at the Navy's Home of Thought, you are duty-bound to take your strengthened intellect, your improved analytical skills, and your expanded perspective, and to lead well and to advise well. To all graduates, today you join a large yet distinguished group of U.S. Naval War College alumni, a group whose membership spans 135 years. Thank you for challenging yourselves in preparation for the uncertainty that may lie ahead. To all of our families and friends here today, thank you again for being your graduates' pillar of strength and for taking time to support them once again by being here. You should all be rightfully proud. We are proud of you. Congratulations and safe travels onward.
Thank you for those comments. Please rise for the benediction.
Again, I invite you to pray. Eternal Father, strong to save, whose arms have bound the restless waves, Father, as we mark the end of our celebration and leave this great hall, we ask that you would imbue us with a renewed sense of purpose and direction. Whether student or faculty, staff or family, may your peace be with us. May your grace shine in us, and may your strength be evident in all that we do. We ask these things in the confidence of your holy name. Amen.
Please remain standing for the departure of the official party. This concludes our graduation ceremony. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, and safe travels.